and we're going to bring Miss Linda Bloom up to the stage. She is our first speaker. Hello, Linda. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm delighted to be with you.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. She got here early, super early. She's ready to go. All right. So, me and Linda today are talking about how to break through intimacy blocks in relationships. Who here thinks that they have an intimacy block? Be honest. Type yes or no in the chat box. You'll know if you do. Oh my God, this is so timely. Yes, definitely. Okay. So, yep, we got a lot of yups in the room. All right. Yes. Kara's like, yes. Okay, so before we dive into this, I'm just going to introduce you guys to Linda so you know what she's all about. So I'm going to go ahead and read her bio real quick. Whoop, pulling it up. Okay, everyone. So Linda Bloom right here is a psychotherapist and a marriage counselor who teaches communication seminars and relationship workshops. She is the co-author of the best-selling book, 101 Things I Wish I Knew When I Got Married. Gotta read that book. Simple Lessons to Make Love Last, which has sold over 100,000 copies. Secrets of Great Marriages, Real Truths from Real Couples About Lasting Love, Happily Ever After, and 39 Other Myths About Love, and That Which Doesn't Kill Us, How One Couple Became Stronger at the Broken Places. Ooh, I love that. Linda and her husband, Charlie, offer educational and counseling services to individuals, couples, and organizations. They are regular teachers at Esalen Institute in Kriaplu. They have over 600 blogs on Psychology Today and over 100 million hits. They have over 100 videos on their YouTube channel, and their website is bloomwork.com, and they can be reached. We'll post all this information in here as well. She has her phone number and their email, and they live and practice in Santa Cruz, California. Hello. Wow, Linda, you got quite the resume. Who here is excited to talk to Linda? Can we please give her a big like woohoo or yes in the chat box right now? Because that is a stellar freaking resume right there. We go. We got some woohoo, me. Awesome. Hey, everyone. I love so many familiar faces that I see. Thank you for welcoming Linda. All right. So, Linda, are you ready to get into this conversation about intimacy?
I'm ready, and thank you for the warm welcome.
Yeah, you have a stellar resume. I'm so excited that you're on this right now. Okay, so how about we just start off by having a conversation as far as like what is intimacy? What is intimacy? What does that even really mean?
In to me see. Innermost. We pick some people in our life, lover, closest friends, closest relationships, to make them special in our life. We don't let everybody see our innermost self, but we have a handful of people that we want to be close to because we feel love and affection for them. And so we want to risk exposing our deepest feelings, our sadness and our loneliness and our fears and our wildest dreams for our life, our big vision for what we want to experience and what we want to contribute. And so we choose this handful of people that we want to expose ourselves to. And it's edgy, it's risky, because every time we expose our innermost self, we don't know if they're going to frown, if they're going to think it's too strange, if they're going to think it's too grandiose, if they're going to think something that may hurt us. It's very tender to expose ourselves. But that's what sets the good relationships apart from the great ones, the depth of emotional connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know that a lot of people here want that, right? Like, who here wants to have incredible depth and intimacy in your relationships? Go ahead and type yes or no in the chat box. Like, who here really, really wants that? Yeah, who doesn't, right? They're nice. Well, tell me who doesn't, right? Yeah. So Linda, from your experience, what comes up and what are some of the common blocks that prevent people from being able to really experience that?
Well, we've all had difficulties in our past when we've opened up and been vulnerable and exposed our sadness or our loneliness or our fears. And we got made wrong for it. Maybe it was just a
Mm-hmm.
frown. Maybe somebody said something. Maybe people didn't even really hear us. Not only in childhood do we get wounded this way when we're very tender and vulnerable, but we have adult relationships where we weren't met when we were open and transparent. And so it leaves us a little shy about risking again.
Mm-hmm.
This is our big chance to cultivate courage, to cultivate resilience, knowing that sometime we will open up and we won't be met in that tender and vulnerable place, but we dare to go for it anyway.
Mm.
It really is an opportunity to grow stronger. Now, I know that in your previous incarnation, you were a fitness workout
Yep.
and you inspired people to get through the hard part. Do you know when it's unpleasant and you're sore and the aches and I don't want to do it and I don't want to go to the gym but when you stay with it, you get to the place where you say, damn, I'm good at this. I'm confident in this. I feel strong in this area. And so to move past those initial fears, the initial reticence, the initial confusion, I want to do it. I'm not afraid to do it. I feel the fear and go for it anyway. I'm committed to it, but I don't know exactly what it looks like. What does an emotional fitness workout look like? And I always invite my clients and my students to designate time for it, just like designating time to go swim in the pool at the gym or to do your yoga practice or go into the weight room or whatever it is, and to be committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be the same time every day, although some people really like that form and structure. But if you have the intention, ways to reveal yourself rather than conceal who you are, ways to express yourself rather than repress and play it pretty close to the vest, ways to connect rather than protect, start to show themselves to you when you have the clear intention that you're going to practice, practice, practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Practice is key here. Like treat it like you would with your fitness routine. I love that. It's super, super related. So we're working a muscle, right? We're building up that muscle to be able to be open and vulnerable and intimate. And it's something that is developed over time for a lot of people because of, like you said before, like we have these past experiences that kind of knock us down and knock us down and knock us down that can show up as blocks as we turn into adults in our modern day relationships. So, as far as strengthening and working that muscle, that emotional muscle, to be able to really connect, what are some, are there any, there might not, I'm just asking, are there any certain specific things that people can do, like exercises with their mindset or with journaling, you know what I mean, in order, or something with communication in order to help people work and build up that muscle?
Absolutely. And you mentioned journaling
Hmm.
and sitting in meditation. That can be wonderful preparation. You can journal about what it is that you're feeling and what it is that you're needing, what it is that you're visioning, what it is that you have resistance to. And that can prime the pump. That can get you ready. Sitting in meditation can do it too, with that time for a reflective pause to get in touch with what we're experiencing. And then that positions us well. You see, that's having an intimate experience with ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that positions us well to consequently, therefore, go and have an intimate experience with someone else. That we already have some clarity about what we're feeling, what we're needing, what we're visioning, and we can bring that in a more articulate form. But not to be too perfectionistic about it. It's okay to just go for it and be a little clumsy about it. And we can go and round and round and round until we actually hit the target. And maybe we want to say something to the person that we're practicing with. I want to be closer to you. I want you to really know me at a deep level. I want to know you at a deep level. I'm willing to go first. I'm not asking anything of you that I won't pony up myself. And that we model for them, that we go out on the skinny branches, that we risk talking about some vulnerable things. Maybe something that's troubling or confusing us or frustrating us in our life, that we bring it to them. Maybe it's something that's frustrating us with our relationship with them that we need to speak about more frankly. Always doing it in a respectful way, not in a critical, judgmental way, no demands, no commands, just sharing our inner life and our inner experience. And a lot of us didn't see this modeled in our families. If they had known better, no blame on our families. If they'd known better, they would have showed us. They would have shown us and they would have taught us. They didn't learn it from their families. They gave us the best that they had. But many of us come into our adult relationships with big learning deficits, not deep-seated psychopathology that you have to do years of therapy to correct, but learning deficits. When people start to see, I've got a learning deficit here, but I can read and I can practice and I can learn from other people. Then they want to take the workshops. They want to read the books. They want to read the blogs. They want to do the practice. When they see how much is at stake and how their life can really flourish. I love the word thrive.
Yeah.
Thrive. One of the workshops that my husband and I teach together at Esalen is called Thrive. To succeed, to flourish, to bloom, to be successful. When people start to connect the dots about how much is at stake, how they can work out in the gym, or do their physical fitness regularly with discipline and vigor, how their bodies get stronger. And when they start to connect the dots about how doing these emotional fitness workouts by having intimate interchanges with other people, they get stronger and more confident in having depth in their relationship. And it spills over into every area of our life. If professionally you want to thrive, the people who are thriving professionally often have a good base camp to come back to after they've been out there risking in the world. And that is their place where the base camp where they tank up and then they go back out for more challenges. It's the safe house in what can be very difficult war zones sometimes in the corporate world and in the professional world. And there's a lot of research that the positive psychology researchers do, that you get the biggest bang for your buck from your closest relationships in terms of your well-being in your life. And when people start to understand that, then they really want to put the time and effort into making their relationships as great as they can be.
Yeah, it's so important who you surround yourself with, because that's going to affect everything. And also it will show up in your actions and the way that you show up as a human. I think is even the way that we talk. Like, if you hang around somebody who has an accent, you'll notice, like, I don't know, whenever I go to Europe, I start to put on an accent. Like, it's literally that connected. And all of a sudden my mom's like, why are you talking like you're from Britain or something? And I'm like, because I'm living over in Spain and everyone talks like this. And this is just what happens. You pick up on habits, ways of being, thought processes, all of these things based on who you're surrounded with. So we all get to look at who we're surrounded with and notice we're not talking about just like normal relationships as far as, your ones with your significant other. This goes for all of your relationships, the ones that you have with your friendships, the ones that you have with your family members. We all get to really look at that and see how they're showing up. Now, Chris has posted a couple of really good questions in here that I'm going to bring to the table. So Linda, Chris has asked, can you give an example of what that conversation looks like in real life? How do we approach in a respectful and non-judgmental way?
So creating agreement, issuing an invitation, letting somebody in our life know how important they are to us and how we would desire to have the best possible relationship with them. So I used to call it introductory remarks. Do you know that sometimes you have to have a conversation preliminary to the conversation that you want to have? But you invite the other person into that conversation by letting them know how much you value the relationship with them. And you don't want any incompletions. You don't want anything clogging up the works and the channel between you two. And say, I would like to designate some time for you and I, whenever it works for you, when you're ready, to sit down and have a conversation with me. Now, of course, face to face is always better.
Mm-hmm.
We can touch them, we can see their facial expression, we can see their body language. And in COVID times, sometimes we have to Zoom and FaceTime. We don't have the ideal, but the intention and the commitment means everything. And when we issue the invitation in an honoring way, often people can't resist joining us because they're flattered that they're so special to us.
Mm.
And even if there's some difficult truths that need to be spoken, we've gotten off on a good foot. John Gottman, who's a researcher that I really admire, calls it softened startup.
Mm.
You know, then a soft, gentle, inviting way, we invite people into the conversation. And then after we have agreement, we say, I'd like you to just listen. You don't necessarily have to respond. And people say, yeah, I can just listen. They're not too backed up about that, even if it's heavy material. Yeah, I can just listen. And then we speak about what's ever in our heart, what's in our experience, which is our feelings and needs, which is different than what's in our mind, which is full of opinions and are often critical. When we practice sharing from our heart, it's a different kind of a conversation. It's a tender conversation. People are less likely to get backed up and reactive about it.
Mm.
But to have an agreement in place that even if somebody gets backed up and if they get triggered, we're liable to get co-triggered, that we work with that. And that's grist for the mill. And the places that are a little rough and agitating, you know, that are emotionally laden, that's growth waiting to happen right there.
Mm.
That's material for very intimate interchange about, whoa, you just touched a sore spot in me right then. You know, I didn't really feel like you heard me. That reminds me about in my family of origin, I didn't feel they understood me. They didn't get me. They didn't know me. And I had to be the perfect child or whatever gets activated. But do you see, that's such important material. The emotionally laden material that people are sometimes dancing around and sidestepping is just the material that needs to come into play for people to know each other on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great. That's really that hits the nail on the head right there because that's usually when the triggers come up when we want to connect with somebody and have these deep conversations, and that's usually the scariest part to bring up is when we know that it's going to trigger our friend or our partner. But that's like you said, that's where the growth is. That's really where you get to then have that deep, intimate relationship with that other person when you have these difficult, deep conversations. It goes hand in hand. And Chris also asked, this is a good question too. We can piggyback off this. How do we respond when the other person does not approach in a respectful, non-judgmental way? So let's say we come in really soft, right? We do that soft approach and we ask for permission and they agree. And then they get triggered, right? They get triggered. They're uncomfortable. Maybe they shut down. Maybe they leave the room. Maybe they start saying some nasty things. How would you say for the person who's the one coming up to the plate, who's trying to get intimate, who's trying to have these conversations, what would you suggest how they handle that?
Mm-hmm. So I'm very aware that we need first line assertiveness, second line assertiveness, third line assertiveness. Just don't quit.
Mm.
We need first line vulnerability, second line vulnerability, third line vulnerability. Just don't quit. Sometimes people get so emotionally flooded that they have to take a break. That's good in the preliminary conversation to say, if either one of us feel like we need to take a break, we can take a break. Short breaks are better. And compose ourselves, soothe ourselves, do you know, and then come back. and have another conversation when we're not so flooded with feeling that our neocortex isn't even working. The only thing that's operating is the fight, flight, or freeze, which is the, you know, the lizard brain. There's the very primitive brain. But when we calm down, then we have all kinds of options available to us because our neocortex in our brain is working. And then we engage in the conversation. I'd like to share with you what just got triggered in me that touched a place where my control button got hit. I thought you were insisting that I had to do this and this and this. Maybe you didn't mean it. And that's the association that I had with it. Now that I'm calmer, I really want to hear, what is it that you were meaning? Can we do a do-over? That's terrific repair. But just don't quit. There's this beautiful story that I often tell when I'm in a workshop about the little old lady on the airplane when I was flying to Little Rock, Arkansas. And I started up a conversation with the woman in the next seat. And I said, "Oh, do you live in Little Rock?" And she said, "No, I'm going to teach a class." I said, "Oh, I'm going to teach a class in Little Rock too. What are you teaching?" And she's teaching the Course in Miracles at a church. I said, "Oh, I'm going to teach Secrets of Great Relationships at the church. That's my husband right there across the aisle. We teach together." And she starts to cry. And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "Oh, you're so lucky you get to teach with your husband. I used to teach with my husband, but he passed away last year. We were together 43 years. And I said, please, you're the voice of experience. Tell me what I should tell my students when I get there." And she's got a really strong Southern accent because she's from Texas. She says, "Honey, you tell them, just keep talking." I thought that was profound wisdom, that we just need to engage again. Maybe we have to take many breaks. So what if we have to take many breaks to calm down? But just keep talking with the spirit of goodwill, with an intention to learn and understand about each other, not an intention to drive our point home or to get our way, with an intention to learn and understand. That's so big, to respect each other at that level.
Yeah. I love what you just said. Like, for real. Just also just yeah, there we go. People were saying in the chat, just keep listening too. That's what was just posted. It's reciprocated, right? Keep talking and keep listening and keep the dialogue open is really what I heard from that. Like, if we get knocked down and it doesn't go exactly how we want it to go, that doesn't mean that we just shut down and we use that as a block for us to be able to get close with people.
I want to thank the person who put in the chat, listening. So incredibly important. I mean, it's been in the media for decades how foundational good communication is to having great relationships. But people often think that it's about speaking. But the other half of good communication is that depth of listening. And if we want to be adept at relationship, really accomplished, thrive, successful in relationship, we need to be black belt listeners and to feed back to the person who's communicating to us what I hear you saying is. And if we're off the mark and we distorted what we heard, like that old game we used to play as a kid, the telephone game, by the time it got to the last person, it hardly resembled what it started out with. We have a chance to put the correction in. No, that's not exactly what I meant. This is what I'm trying to say. We might have to go through a few versions of that. But the feedback, do you know, is very important. Then we can correct and really get the communication distilled down to essence. What I most want you to hear is how much I appreciate you. We all want to know that we're valued, appreciated. I once heard somebody say, and I thought there was some profound wisdom, that the only messages that people ever really send to each other is, "I love you and I want to be loved by you." Do you know, I respect you and I want to be respected by you. I value you and I want to be valued by you. And so many things get in the way of having that depth, that kind of bottom line root communication.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So powerful. Like everything that we're saying right now. Like who here is resonating with what Linda's saying? We can type yes or no in that chat box. Yes or no in that chat box. Who can relate to this, or who can already understand how going into your conversations with your best friend, your mom, your significant other, like this, like shift this little shift, like what she's saying right now. It's little shifts, guys. This isn't some big ginormous thing that she's saying is going to help land your communication. Is going to change your relationships. Like, you guys get that? You guys hearing this? Are you listening? Right? Yes, we're saying yes, 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 absolutely. I'm going to see someone posted in the chat box. Catherine just said, sometimes it can feel like sticking with it takes control of the day. For example, it is an emotional roller coaster at times, and it can affect your ability to go about the rest of your day in a stable mindset. Or sometimes you have so much planned for your day, it can feel like pressure to hurry up and understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear this a lot from people. I refer to it as the competing urgencies. The people
Mm-hmm.
have big careers with tremendous demands and pressures and challenges. And some people, while they're doing their big careers, are raising kids, and that's being in service round the clock. So we have our competing urgencies, and it really is a time and energy management challenge that no matter what's going on in our life,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how big our career aspirations are, no matter how many children we have and how young they have, no matter what's going on in our life. And people have, fierce commitments to their physical workouts. People have fierce commitments to their spiritual practice. Some people are contributing to the church and they're doing all kinds of political, good works in the world. But no matter what our commitments are, to make it important to keep our closest relationships in the best possible condition. Because I see that as the hub of the wheel, and everything else is going to roll more smoothly if that hub of the wheel is sturdy, strong, and
Mm-hmm.
stable. Then
Mm-hmm.
we can take on all kind of challenges, and we've got a full tank. We've got a full tank of fuel to meet them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. I really want to just emphasize the piece that you said, where we get to prioritize our relationships in order to have them excel and be great, not just okay or good enough. We are the people that get to decide the energy that we're going to put into things. And how much energy are you willing to put into maintaining a great, stellar, incredible relationship? It starts with us putting in the effort, taking the time to listen to coaching, figuring it out, creating that space to have these kinds of conversations, guys. We're the ones who get to initiate, not our partner. It's up to us. And that's where that courage piece also can come in to play big time. So we're just about wrapping up. So Linda, I wanted to ask you, out of all the things that we talked about today, because we covered some awesome ground and some awesome topics here, but as far as like something that to really have the listeners here really remember, if like they could just remember one thing out of this conversation, what do you think is the most valuable takeaway?
Have the courage to desire a great relationship, and more is better, but at least one great one. And this is the beginning of the new year. It's such a wonderful time to set the intention and to make the commitment that you're going to designate time for enhancing and deepening your relationships. And
Mm,
if you are diligent and committed and live that commitment, just like the physical fitness commitment to go to the gym on a regular basis, if you commit to working out in your relationships to become emotionally connected in a meaningful way, you will have that breakthrough.
mm,
It will add up to a breakthrough and an up level, a jump up. So I say, make that commitment in the depth of your own heart. It's as important as anything else that you do in your life. And then watch the bonanza of benefits that come in from doing the workouts.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much, Linda. And I have one more question, just because this is a question I'm going to ask all of the speakers. So, what exactly does thriving mean to you?
Mm-hmm. That is as opposed to surviving, because so many people set the bar so low, they just want to get by. This is your willingness to lift the bar, to go for the gold, to hold a high standard of excellence, integrity, to develop what we are given. We only use a small fraction athletically, physically and intellectually and creatively. And the same is true for our emotional well-being. We need to set our sights high. And if we do and steadily, consistently work towards it, we will achieve the highest possibilities. We have to be willing to tap into that place that wants it, because it's in there in everybody, but they don't sometimes access it. And so they settle. So I say go for the gold. I mean, if we're going to be in relationships, why not we have the best we can possibly have?
Yes, I love that. Woo! Thank you, Linda. And I know that you have a free gift, a couple of free gifts, I believe, for our audience here that we will send out to you guys at the end. So make sure that you're checking your email at the end of this, okay? But Linda, could you just take a quick second to explain what those free gifts are really quick?
Yes, my husband and I have co-authored 4 books already. We have a new one coming out this year, but we have excerpted from our books and made them into free ebooks. So when people go to our site, there's one on sexuality about great sex. There's one on the 10 most important things we've learned since we've gotten married. And there's one that is from our new book that's going to be out next year about an end to arguing. So they have 10 chapters each, and they're filled with practical tips for how to up level in your relationships. And we got all kind of free things on our website so people can get the free ebooks. We have recommended reading there. We have over 600 blogs, and we've got over 100 YouTube videos.
Woo! Powerhouse. Thank you so much, Linda. And really quick, it's bloomwork.com, right?
Singular. If you do Bloomworks, it takes you to a flower nursery. So we want people to remember Bloomwork.
Okay, bloomwork.com. And don't worry, guys, I'm going to send you guys an email at the end of this with all of Linda's amazing links to her website, to her YouTube page, to all of the things. So you'll have all of her resources, and of course, to those incredible free gifts that she's sharing with you guys today. So thank you, Linda. Thank you so much for being part of this event. This conversation was amazing.
And thank you for doing this work to enhance people's breakthroughs.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's give Linda a big thank you in the chat. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Someone said yes, yes to sex education. They're very excited for that one.